All right, well, good morning again. My name is Destry Boscos. I am a consultant to Sandag's iCommute Employer Program. And I'd like to go ahead and get started. But before we get started, I'd like to cover some of the housekeeping items. So there is a box on your right-hand part of your screen, and those are for questions. Please feel free to type in your questions there. To save time, the questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Additionally, we will be recording this webinar today in case you want to watch it again and share it with your organization, friends, and colleagues. We will email out the webinar to all participants tomorrow. Additionally, we will be conducting several poll questions throughout the presentations, just like the one that we started off with. And with that, let's get started and give you a preview of the agenda. The agenda today is pretty jam-packed. We will start with a brief overview of Sandag and the iCommute program. Next, I will give updates on Rideshare Week and Clean Air Day and go over our toolkit resources that you can share with your employees. Then you'll learn about what our transit partners are doing to keep everyone safe when taking transit. Neil from Commute with Enterprise and Saul with Green Commuter will give updates on safety protocols when van pooling, and Therese with Waze will share information about carpool safety. Finally, we will be joined by Brian from the Coalition for Clean Air to tell us how everyone can get involved in Clean Air Day. We will save some time at the end for Q&A, so please make sure to type your questions in the question box. So let's get started. Sandag, or the San Diego Association of Governments, is the region's long-term planning agency. It's made up representatives of the 18 cities and the county of San Diego. Sandag is responsible for creating the long-term vision for the San Diego region. They help answer questions such as, what do we want our region to look like in the future? Where will we live? How will we get around? And how can we grow in a way that fuels the economy, preserves our environment, and takes everyone's needs into account, and all still maintain a quality of life? iCommute is the transportation demand management program at Sandag. iCommute encourages transportation alternatives to reduce congestion and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The team works with commuters with transit solutions, a subsidized van pool program, information about teleworking, regional support for biking, and the Guaranteed Ride Home program. iCommute also works with employers like yourself to develop and enhance commuter benefits that will help lower costs, increase productivity, and help the environment. Additionally, iCommute hosts the regional bike map, which can be printed and is accessible online, and administers a bike locker program at more than 60 locations countywide. iCommute is super excited for this year's events. We will both be celebrating National Rideshare Week, which is October 4 through 8, and Clean Air Day, which happens to be during that week, right in the middle, Wednesday, October 6th. So whether your employees are on site, have a hybrid working schedule, or still working remotely, everyone can still participate and do their part to reduce their carbon footprint. Employers who register for either event will receive a Diamond Award point. A Diamond Award is a point recognition system that recognizes employers that participate in iCommute. And those who register for Rideshare Week before September 22 will be featured in an ad at the Union Tribune. There are so many ways employees and organizations alike can help do their part to clean the air and make San Diego a healthier place to live. We are so excited to see how many people will participate and join us for Rideshare Week and Clean Air Day. When you sign up for either of these events, iCommute has put together resources for you to share with your employees. This toolkit for Rideshare Week consists of a poster and a half-page flyer, both in English and Spanish. There's also a tips and ideas flyer, sample e-blasts and social media posts, and even a carpool parking sign that can save a spot for those who carpool. For Clean Air Day, you will also be receiving a toolkit. Here are some of the resources that are available: a draft resolution, digital screen, slide for your intraweb, and even a Facebook cover photo. So regardless of which event you participate, or in both, you will have the resources you need to help promote it to your employees and colleagues. The next couple of slides, we'll be going over some safety information for ride-sharing modes. I'd like to take this moment to share some safety information from our transit partners. Since the pandemic started, MTS bus and trolley have really stepped up their cleaning protocols with more cleaning and increased protective measures, such as no cash, daily temp checks for all employees. Additionally, here are some best safety practices MTS recommends when riding the bus or trolley. Make sure you're always wearing a face covering, carry hand sanitizer, hand sanitizer, and as always, make sure you use your best judgment and follow the local guidelines. For NCTD, they have also increased cleaning and safety measures so that everyone can commute safely. Some of their cleaning protocols include facilities that are cleaned and disinfected daily, as well as restrooms at transit centers that are cleaned and wiped with disinfected multiple times a day. Currently, here are some other measures that NCTD is doing. They are helping to distribute face coverings for customers on revenue vehicles, as well as having a standee line inside the bus that is now moved from the coach operator. Now, before we turn it over to our first presenter, I'd like to do a quick poll. The question here is, what percentage of your employees are currently working from the office? Please take a moment to respond to the question. Oh, looks like we have a variety of answers, and that is wonderful. By joining in Rideshare Week and Clean Air Day, we can definitely make sure everyone participates, regardless if they're working from the office or at home or a hybrid of both. Thanks for all your responses. So I'd like to turn it over to Neil Semcheski from one of our van pool vendors, Commute with Enterprise. Thanks for being with us here today, Neil.
Appreciate that, Destry. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great to hear. So again, thank you for bringing me on the call. I know we have a limited time here, so I want to jump right into it. Commute with Enterprise is a service here in Southern California that's been actually operating for well over 30 plus years now here in San Diego. For some of you that may not be familiar with our service, the first ever van pool that started operating for Enterprise in the country actually started here in San Diego. But as we prepare, we've been working with a lot of employers that are starting to bring the workforce back and what the new commute might look like. Also during the past year, we're still working with essential workforces and businesses to help their employees get to and from. So just going right in, some of the best practices that have been put in place over the past year and continue to move forward would include a few things like, if we could go to the next slide. So the premise of van pooling together and the best practices, one is a controlled environment. When you look at van pooling, which falls under public transportation, it's a controlled environment where it is the same group of employees getting in and out of the vehicle each day. So they're able to, understand what's going on with their mental health or well-being. They control certain things, like if they're not feeling well, they don't ride the van pool that day. They set certain rules in place as well, of course, showing up on time, ready to go. Currently, there is a federal mandate in place that masks still must be worn on all van pools when there's federal transit subsidy in place, which Sandag does provide. But again, it's limiting that exposure because they can keep the vehicle clean, keep it on a continuous cleaning schedule. It's not other folks or other employees getting randomly in or out. And luckily, for the past over a year, we have not had one case reported from our van pools in all of Southern California exposed to COVID, and that has been a record for us over the past year. So again, that controlled environment, the same folks riding in and out of each day, they're comfortable. It's a secure place to commute to and from each day. One of the things we do provide, if we go to the next screen, upon all startups, is we do provide a complete clean starter kit. This is going to come with a welcome letter, a cleaning checklist, spray bottle with disinfectant pods, a box of disposable gloves, and mask, and a roll of paper towels. One thing we can't control is how often they do clean their vehicle, but we've seen a lot of our van pools really taking kind of pride in this and ownership and keeping a continuous cleaning schedule. We also partied with a third-party vendor called Spiffy, which can do on-site disinfectant cleaning that can be done at work locations or at home, or they can come do a more advanced detailed cleaning as well, which we partner with them to take the extra next step for any layers of safety or convenience a customer may or may not want to have. So again, providing these clean car starter kits, having the best practices in place, and the overall limited exposure environment of van pooling has really kept our commuters safe here in the Southern California area. Go ahead. Just why commute as a whole? When employees are looking at getting back on the road, we understand that can be a burden. We have a lot of long distance commuters, but where we come in and really help a workforce is helping with their productivity, assisting in their retention and recruiting, a lot of the go green sustainability that's in place. Also with the cost savings, commuting is getting costly with the fuel prices constantly on the rise. And however, we're going to save on average an individual about 80% of their personal commute costs. And we see working with companies, employees are always typically asking for more pay, more time off. This is a great way to give that to them when looking at building a better commute option for your employees to get to and from. Next screen. And then just ultimately, we work with employers of all sizes, from the largest employers here in San Diego down to anywhere to 200 to 300 on site, just to give you a glimpse of, on average, what it could look like at your operation. If you were 800 employees, that's about 104 people that could be van pooling, 16 vans. For a reduction in parking spaces needed on site, you're reducing about 88. But the big things impacts to the area are the commuter miles saved, the CO2 reduction in pounds, and the employee annual savings. And again, these are based off averages factored in from employers that we work with here in Southern California, but just to give you a glimpse of how that impact could be made. And last slide, just for some that may not be too familiar, what it is that separates commute. We do provide recent model SUVs or vans. This way they're more fuel efficient, their safety features are more advanced, they're coming with all the bells and whistles, and they're more reliable forms of transportation, getting your workforce to and from. We do offer SUVs, hybrid minivans, transit vans with captain chairs. We do also offer the fully electric Tesla Model X 7-passenger as well. It is a month-to-month convenience. We fully cover the vehicles for insurance. We provide the maintenance, 24/7 roadside assistance. There's a guaranteed ride home in place. The significant savings is what's really important to the individuals. And lastly, there's that bit of rider confidence when they're riding with a group of trusted employees. Also partnering with Enterprise. We share our fleet, so if something were to happen on the road, we're going to utilize our local stores to get your employees taken care of to and from, to either get them home or get them back to the work site. So again, a lot of great benefits, but the safety of our customers is priority number one. We've put some best practices in place. And last slide, just if interested or want to know more, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I am local here to San Diego, right here in Bankers Hill myself, so I'll be glad to speak with anybody that would like to know more.
Wonderful, Neil. Thank you so much for sharing that information.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Before we hand it over to our next presenter, let's do another poll question. The poll question is, which of our toolkit items do you feel will be the most useful in encouraging staff to participate? Wonderful. Thank you guys for responding. Looks like everything will be used. The majority looks like they will be using the sample email blast, followed with posters and flyers and carpool parking sign. That's great. We just want to make sure that all the resources we're providing are helpful to you to encourage your staff. Thanks so much. So our next presenter is Saul Valdez, and he is from our second van pool vendor, Green Commuter. Good morning, Saul.
Oh, sorry about that. I was muted. Good
No
morning, all.
worries.
Thank you for letting me spend a few minutes with you and just highlighting some of the benefits of Green Commuter and some of the things that we've been up to. I'm not seeing the slides yet. Why is that? Oops. Oh. I'm not seeing the slides coming up, and so maybe they are coming up. I'm not sure why they're not. Oh, great. There we go. Thank you. So I have been in the van pool realm since 1987. So if you do the math, it's about over 34 years that I've been in and out of doing van pooling and involved in it in TDM. Unfortunately for most people, part of that time I actually spent being an employee transportation coordinator at a university at UCI in Irvine, and I learned at that point that there were more important things in TDM than just van pooling. So it gives me an overall feel for the different demands that are put on individuals such as yourselves and what you're trying to accomplish from day to day. I wanted to talk about some of the benefits of van pools to employers. If you haven't already experienced it, you know that when you have van pools and you have other TDM solutions for your employees, it really decreases employee turnover. That's important for companies because it costs so much money to retrain people. And of course, the fact that people are able to commute and relax as opposed to being uptight in a vehicle all by themselves, are able to come to work and be more productive, and helps their well-being overall. And it reduces your facilities and parking costs. A lot of what you may be paying for in terms of the square footage is also associated with the number of parking spots that you may be, or parking stalls you may be needing to use, and you can reduce that cost as well. And there's greater appeal for competing for top talent. And these days, when people go to such companies that provide great benefits, van pooling is a great benefit for them, and they will see that value in it. And also, of course, projects a positive value for yourself as a company, both internally and throughout the community, that you're doing your part to reduce your carbon footprint. Next slide, please. So why van pool and electric vehicles? Electric vehicles provide us with an opportunity to do things cleaner. It cuts CHG emissions 9.5 times cleaner than using a gasoline-powered van pool, according to CARB, not us. And of course, that with 7 people in a vehicle, it's 45.8 times less polluting than gasoline vehicles. Van pooling, as I've mentioned already, reduces stress in people, saves you money as a company, and saves everyone, and in hopefully having a better quality driving experience, because the vehicles themselves are just equipped with the latest technology. And the next slide, please. So one of the differences between us and what I've been doing before is that with van pooling with Green Commuter, you pay no more fuel costs. We take care of all the electricity costs for that vehicle. So when we give you a price, It's not going to fluctuate up and down. You're not going to be switched out of vehicles often. You're going to keep that vehicle for the life of the vehicle. And the vehicles do have the Tesla Model X has a 230-mile range, which means the commutes most commuters. And we have some right now, for instance, that are going from Temecula all the way down to San Ysidro, going 100 to 110 miles in either direction, and they're able to do their commutes very comfortably in that. We assist drivers and companies in finding charging stations either at your workplace or your origin location. We also have a sister company called EVCS that installs and provides charging stations in case that is something that where a company wants to go with that, to provide charging not only for their van pools but also for the employee base as well, because it's a great benefit for all the other employees involved. Next slide, please. We have two types of vehicles available. And they're all 100% battery electric EVs. This slide just shows the Tesla Model X. It is a 7-passenger vehicle, and as I mentioned before, has 230 miles of range. And next slide, please. And the other vehicle that we have is also a 100% battery electric van called the Green Power EV Star. This van is nicely appointed with very comfortable seats. And if you'll notice in the picture on the right, instead of having people sit shoulder to shoulder right next to each other, they're literally about 5 feet apart, 6 feet apart front to back, 5 feet apart side to side. So it gives them that social distancing or physical distancing that some people are looking for right now. Also, this vehicle has a central exhaust fan that allows them to replace the fresh air in the vehicle every 5 minutes. So that's a great advantage for them. We do encourage all our riders, and we see that they have been wearing masks, and also to keep wiping the often used surfaces like door handles and steering wheels and that sort of thing as they change from driver to driver. But the most important thing, as we know about COVID, is how that is transferred. And it's transferred with in the air and that sort of thing. So that's important for a lot of people, and so they like this way larger vehicle for those purposes. Next slide, please. A person can go into our website and calculate what their commute is going to cost them up front. And again, that's something that this shows here, of course, where we're operating throughout Southern California. And San Diego is certainly a part of that, and we really love being a part of the community there. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to show the contact information for us. All of our van pools, most importantly, come with a dedicated van pool account manager. In our case, it's Navid, who works for our company, and he is. We are all available to people if something does occur during their commute. They call us, one of us. They don't call some office that may not know who they are. They're going to be talking to one of our individuals in the company and providing, and that way we can provide the type of information that they need right away and the help that they need right away. That whether that be if they get a flat tire, getting them home. We do that by way of getting people home in an Uber or Lyft ride, 2 or 3 vehicles, whatever it takes to get people home and so forth. But anyway, here's our contact information. You're welcome to take right away and contact us directly at any given time so that we can assist you with your programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saul. Great information. I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Therese Pham, from our carpool vendor, Waze. Welcome, Therese.
Thanks, Destry. Hi, everyone. My name is Therese Pham, and I'm with Waze, here to talk about our carpooling program for employers. Next slide. Okay, Just a quick reminder for those that aren't familiar with how Waze Carpool works, just kind of at a high level our approach. So first off, our drivers are regular commuters. These are not professional drivers of Waze. Our users get to know who their co-pilot is before they carpool. So we give our riders and drivers the choice to choose who they want to carpool with. There's no blind matching. Another key differentiator is that drives are happening anyways, right? These are employees that have to drive into the office, they have to drive home. Waze's mission is to help eliminate traffic and remove cars off the road. So again, these are drives that are happening anyways. And then finally, riders and drivers are sharing travel costs. Drivers are getting reimbursed for gas and they're recouping some of the costs of owning a car. Next slide. And then now into our partner program, which is what I want to spend most of the time talking about. Next slide. So about our partner program, we give you the tools you need to start a carpooling group, the marketing materials you need to promote it, and we help you track your results. And all of this is free. So as a Waze Carpool partner, you get access to the Partner Hub. You can create closed groups. Again, we'll provide you with custom marketing materials. You can offer group incentives. There's onboarding and support, and then also a group dashboard. So I'll go through some of our offerings here. So here, this is the newest and biggest addition to our partner program. This is our Partner Hub. You can see a snapshot here of the hub, what it looks like. But this is where you can create, manage, and monitor your carpooling groups. Again, you can create a closed group where you can add an optional verification method for people joining your group. You can offer incentives like discounted rides to your group members. And then on the right side, you'll see a screenshot of the app. So this is what employees will see. Employees are invited to the group in the app, and then they'll be able to see a little bit more about the program details. Next slide. We'll also provide customized Waze carpool materials to help you promote the group. The kit can be tailored with your company logo. It can call out any driver or rider incentives and give specific information carpoolers at your company need to sign up. So we'll include physical and digital materials and files. This is for you to be able to distribute through your communication channels, whether it's internally, externally. We'll also provide templated emails so you can send this out and announce the program. Next slide. And then onboarding and support. So all of our partners get a dedicated Waze partner manager to support you through the process. We're able to assist with events. Of course, all of that's moved from in-person to virtual, but we can still show your employees how the app works. We can discuss features, give quick tips, and give employees opportunity to ask questions directly to Waze. And we'll continue to work with whoever's leading your program to share best practices, help troubleshoot, and we're always here to help. We'll be available for regular check-ins as well. Next slide. And then our group dashboard. So within the hub, you can view a performance dashboard that shows metrics such as signups, carpool rides, miles carpooled, estimated reduction of CO2 emissions, and more. So we want to help our partners have more visibility into their program's performance. And now with the dashboard in the hub, you can easily log in at any time to track the results. Next slide. And then I finally want to touch on safety. So we recommend that all of our riders and drivers continue to follow health and safety guidelines. Within the app, before users schedule their carpool rides, we do have a reminder banner for them to, again, follow local guidelines. This information is all included in our help center, and it's shared with the users. It's updated regularly, and it all aligns with what the CDC has put out in regards to how to reduce risk when carpooling. And some of the recommendations are here, such as limiting the number of people in a vehicle, wearing face coverings, increasing ventilation in vehicles, and then just making sure to communicate prior to a trip. And that's it. So if you're interested, go ahead and visit waze.com/partners. You can fill out the form, and then my information, my email address is also listed here if you want to reach out directly. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Therese. And now I'd like to turn it over to our last presenter, Brian. Brian is joining us from the Coalition for Clean Air to tell us about this year's Clean Air Day campaign. Thank you for joining us today, Brian.
It is my pleasure, and I want to thank the San Diego iCommute team for really being an intrinsic part of California Clean Air Day. And I want to thank everybody who participated last year. Next slide, please. So I have to acknowledge, and I think all of us sort of recognize this, but we've had a crazy year. But what was really interesting about California Clean Air Day is that we showed that no matter where we are at in a global pandemic or whatever else is happening, that the virtual nature of California Clean Air Day really allows for participation wherever and whatever you may be doing. And so you've got on the bottom, you've got sort of, 2019, we're doing a lot of in-person things, and you sort of last year we pivoted to a lot of sort of virtual events. Next slide, please. And there's a very good reason we do California Clean Air Day, even in a place as beautiful as San Diego, and I'm a UC San Diego graduate myself, the city still has the 6th worst ozone in the country. So, and that's really followed by cities across California. And so we really need to do things to improve the situation, which is why we do California Clean Air Day. Next slide, please. And, not only do Californians need to do something about our intransigent air pollution challenge, but polls are showing that they actually really care about it. So 72% of Californians actually said that air pollution was important, and doing something about air pollution is important. So if you're wondering, should I get involved in this campaign? There's a good chance your employees will be incredibly grateful that you did. And in fact, it's shown to help with recruiting when you do get involved in campaigns like that. Next slide, please. Everything around California Clean Air Day takes place at cleanairday.org. And so I definitely encourage folks to go there and check it out. In particular, there's an interplay that happens between the organizational pledge, which is basically the sign up button, and our individual and kids pledge. And I'll kind of go over that and what you benefit. But when you go to the website just to sign up, and the actual process of signing up takes about 2 minutes. Super easy. You just click that brown button. It'll ask you some prescriptive things, but nothing that we're going to hold you to. That's really to give you ideas and us to know, sort of how we're doing. Next slide, please. And it's been through this interplay of the organizational pledge and the individual pledge that we've been able to reach some really big numbers over the past couple of years. What started as just an idea has since grown to an estimated 1.6 million people. And that's really been driven by, the government agencies and nonprofits and corporations that are invested in using this as an opportunity to engage either externally or internally. So last year we had 530 folks, organizations take us up. We hope to break that this year. So next slide, please. But I should always start out, and I always forget, Clean Air Day takes place on October 6th, 2021. It's always the first Wednesday in October, but most of the activity is already happening. Next slide. So when people sign up, we want to recognize them for their participation. So everybody who signs up, even if you don't do anything, and I do hope that you do something, gets recognized on the website. Here you have, this is a little bit outdated, but it's the San Diego companies that have signed up, which you can find under the About tab. We're at about 260 so far. Next slide, please. But one of the really cool things that you get by your participation is when you sign up and you share this link encouraging people to take action, you actually get a report that you can check on anytime. and see what kind of things that people are interested in. So here's an example from SoCal Gas across our 3 broad categories. So they had 730 people this year, that year, and you can see that 698 of them sort of pledged to reduce emission. Next slide, please. But as you can get even more granular than that, given the 20 choices on the website that we asked people to commit to doing, you can see in aggregate, in this example, you had over 200 people who, sort of challenged themselves to, bring in an indoor plant. And what we hope is that that information is useful for all of you as you think about your incentive programs with employees. So if I'm looking at this and I know that my employees are super interested in indoor plants, I might choose to do an indoor plant giveaway to sort of incentivize them the next time I try to get people in carpool or something else. Next slide, please. Everything around the big part of Clean Air Day is really reducing vehicle miles traveled. So as you might imagine, you get a lot of good information in that space as well. And it's always centered around the idea that you can do something very simple that really, even those hardest to reach people say, I can't do anything. You can walk, or instead of driving somewhere on your lunch break, you can walk or bring your lunch. So very low barrier to entry activities, but of course we want people to try public transit, carpool, etc. Next slide, please. In addition, the campaign gives some really good advice and useful information on protecting public health. So I always think of the cabin air filter, which people always mistake for the air filter in your engine. It's actually a very easy process. Anybody can do it. It goes behind your glove compartment. So we encourage people to take those kinds of actions. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. And you'll also get demographic information when you sign up. You'll be able to access a list of anybody who decides to share their information. So if you want to do a contest, you'll have their names, and it's all automated. You also have where sort of folks are coming from. We're working on making this a little bit more user-friendly so that there's not a giant block for other, but you'll also get sort of more specific information. Next slide, please. But of course, some people did really well and some didn't. So here are some tactics to help you. Next slide, please. One tactic that we have found that works really well is to create friendly competition. So in this example, Gensler, who participated a few years ago, had a competition among their offices spread throughout California to see who could get the most signups. And in this example, Los Angeles won, but I will point out that on a per capita basis, San Diego actually won. Next slide. The other tactic that's really important, and I would encourage you to use this for anything that you do, is to form an internal committee. So if you have one person, say, from HR, and one person maybe from sustainability, and one person from, say, transportation demand management, it just creates additional buy-in and shares the responsibility. They don't have to meet very often, but it's like it's having multiple people bought into the concept. And then set goals. So, we ask you when you sign up for Clean Air Day to how many people will participate. That's important so that you have something to kind of move toward. Connect to organizational goals and values. So if you have invested in, say, chargers or anything to talk about and tell the story of why you're participating, that's incredibly valuable. And then the second to last thing I'll just bring up is engage your leadership. So if you're doing an event and your CEO or someone from the C-suite is going to be there, that makes a huge difference. Same thing with them sort of showing, on social media and other things that they are also taking action. Next slide, please. And then celebrate success. Sometimes we forget about doing this. When you guys are, doing the good work, I know that we're always pushing, and I'm always pushing for people to do more, but step back and say, hey, great job, guys, we did this. Hey, employee X, wow, you signed up to take every single action on the pledge. Celebrate those successes, and then other people will see that and want to do more. Next slide, please. So just California Clean Air Day is also great for external facing communications and campaign. Next slide, please. So first step, sign your company up and be prepared to track the engagement, see how you're doing. And so that's just number one. And then number two, use your public facing messaging to celebrate your customers and clients. So many of you work with vendors and others. That's a great opportunity. Clean Air Day is a great opportunity to highlight them and get them bought into the concept. Next slide, please. Social media, everything takes place at Clean Air Day, and the website again is cleanairday.org. We have a social media toolkit on the site that you'll see. We have a couple of other toolkits on the site, and the official hashtag there is Clean Air Day CA, and we had 6 million social media impressions last year on this campaign. So it's a great opportunity to be engaged in a larger conversation. Next slide, please. Also on the site is our event tab. So if you want to host either a volunteer outing, something virtual, or anything related, there was a transit party or Think a Transit Rider a few years ago. There will be bike rides in San Diego. There'll also be a mural unveiling. There are a lot of opportunities to connect and highlight what you're doing. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, San Diego has a robust nonprofit community, many of whom are engaged, and you can find some of the folks listed on the website. I'd encourage you to connect with them, or certainly reach out if you'd like me to connect you with any of the local nonprofits that are participating. And I'll just rehash that. Please use the data from when you're sharing the unique links to see how you're doing. And so here's a couple of examples. People participate in all kinds of ways. Lime allowed, if you took the pledge, you could unlock free Lime rides. SAC-RT up in Sacramento did free transit. AAG did big boards. Snapchat and Tinder both participated last year. Lots of different ways to participate. And you should start to see some Caltrans signs lead in around the beginning of October as well. Next slide, please. And again, everything takes place and it starts at this right here at the pledge. That button on the right is the one you're going to want to click to sign up. The last question when you're filling them out is, what would you like your unique hyperlink to be? So me at the Coalition for Clean Air, I put CCA. I've seen people with most often it's the company name, but it could be like somebody just used Drive Electric. And so it's really just, that's the one thing you want to think about, because that's what you're going to want to share to get people signed up. Next slide, please. And, I would be remiss if I did not thank the folks that make this possible, and locally, San Diego Gas and Electric, as well as the San Diego Foundation, among others. But I hope that everybody participates, and I really appreciate, again, the Sandags, the iCommute teams, active participation in this. It's looking forward to having lots of people take the pledge and then take action on Clean Air Day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that great info, Brian. I am definitely going to get my family to participate. We definitely have been working on our garden, so planting is one of them. That will do. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. So just kind of a recap, again, the next action steps for you guys would be to register for Rideshare Week and pledge for Clean Air Day. By doing so, again, as an employer, you will get a point towards your Diamond Award status. Next slide, please. You can, again, there are so many ways you can participate in either of these events, whether it's to try transit, van pool, carpool, share your rideshare story, or even telework from home. So make sure you're signed up and ready to get going with your employees. So that brings us to the Q&A portion of our presentation. If you have any questions, we do have our panelists here to answer them. Please take some time now to enter your questions if you have any on the right side of your screen in the question box. And let me go ahead and check to see if we have any questions. We do have a question here from a participant, and the question is, where can we access the toolkit? So the toolkit will be posted on iCommuteSD.com in your follow-up email that will be given to you with the website recording or webinar recording. We will also remind you that the toolkit can be found on iCommuteSD.com. So that's really where we're going to house all the rideshare information as well as links to Clean Air Day if you don't go directly to cleanairday.org. And if there's any other questions, otherwise, if you think of a question after this webinar, please feel free to email us. We'd be happy to follow up after this webinar. And I don't see any other questions here. That wraps it up. Thank you to all our panelists for joining us today. Thank you to all our attendees. We hope you will be joining us for both celebrations for Rideshare Week and Clean Air Day. Again, we will be posting a recording on our website as well as emailing a copy to all participants tomorrow. Make sure you check out iCommuteSD.com for all the resources. Thank you again for participating. Stay safe and take care.